One of the sectors hardest hit is, of course, hospitality and hotels. Joining me now is Stephen Ferguson, the CEO of the Australian Hotels Association. Stephen, thanks for your time as always. What's your position when it comes to this argument about JobKeeper or the current system? Are you happy with what the government's doing?
Kieran, look, we understand the reasons why the government wants to stick with the current framework they have in place. JobKeeper was great at the time. Whatever the scheme's called is not the issue. A couple of the key things that we're working with the government at the moment, I've got to say, Josh Frydenberg, the Treasurer, has been fantastic at listening. We've raised quite a few issues with him recently. One of the problems we have at the moment is that there's a $50 million cap and that venues in our sector are judged as groups. So the problem there is that of the 700 hotels locked down in Sydney, 250 at the moment are not receiving any support at all. What we've asked the government to do is to consider lifting that cap from $50 million, but then also to make sure the payments are available venue by venue. So if a publican has 3 pubs, at the moment he's only able to get up to $10,000 across the 3 venues. We think that that's more evenly shared if it's per business. There's a tax reason that they're paying it by the ABN, not against each individual business.
And in terms of the workers, is the payment of the disaster payment enough? Because one of the design features, as we've heard from Labor and others, is that they wanted JobKeeper because it connected them to the employer. That
was a point that the AHA pushed very early on in the piece. The issue at the moment, there's discussion whether it should be $600 or $750. The real issue tomorrow is that when Victoria comes out of this payment, the scheme at the moment's only geared towards those venues or those places decreed a hotspot by the Commonwealth. If the Commonwealth lifts that hotspot definition tomorrow, I was talking to a regional hotel in Victoria, of his 55 staff, he'll probably only bring 30 back because there's 100-person capacity. That will mean 25 people that get left without any form of this new disaster payment. So we're seeking clarification at the moment as to what will happen to those people. And that will happen in Sydney.
That gap, because of the density requirement under the new arrangements of 1 per 4 square metres, you won't need as many staff.
That's right.
So some people will fall through the cracks.
The rule is that once the lockdown's lifted, our understanding is that the payment ceases. We're saying that the lockdown, if you like, will only have been lifted by 25% or 50%, so that there's a group of workers who
will still miss out.
Correct.
Okay. And so there are a couple of issues there with the lockdowns emerging. What about the lockdown, which looks like it won't be emerging, or at least easing for the foreseeable future, that being Sydney? I heard about the larger venues. What about the smaller ones? How are they coping?
Kieran, the greatest problem for them is the accumulation of costs. Every week they're piling up deferred bank interest, deferred lease payments, deferred state taxes, deferred land taxes. It just goes on. And those debts must be repaid. They're not being waived, they're being deferred. So all these businesses, when they come out in September, October, November, are going to have a mountain of debt. So, these payments that the Commonwealth are helping with, and with the states, which has been fantastic, it's needed. We just think there needs to be a bit of tweaking.
And one of the problems with the larger venues, with the cap on the size, is what's the flow-on impact of that in terms of the workforce? If you're not getting that support.
It's massive. There's one venue I was talking to this morning in Sydney that usually has an $85,000 payroll in normal times. They're still passing out $45,000 in wages, even though they've got no revenue, because they need to have those workers available when they come back. One of the frustrations for hospitality, where in Melbourne they've been shut down 5 times, workers have gone and found other jobs into other trades. So a lot of hotels now are sort of paying their staff, their good staff, to make sure they have people coming out. So every skerrick that the Commonwealth can help with, our hotels are putting their own.
And Stephen, one of the points you've made to me repeatedly is that the industry has been central to a lot of the tracking here, via the QR codes and so on. They've been engaging with authorities from the outset.
Yeah, look, we've done our best. I mean, in Victoria at the moment, the mantra is no tick, no entry. You can't go into a pub. Everyone tries to make sure. I mean, as we see that, unfortunately, what happens in jurisdictions when they come out, things get a bit slack, but we've been really hard on the QR codes.
Stephen Ferguson, CEO of the AHA, thanks. Appreciate it, as always.